All right, so we're just want to say welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Again, if you wouldn't mind to check your cell phones, that would be save us all a little embarrassment if you wouldn't mind to do that. I just checked mine, so I think I'm good. All right, so let's go ahead and start. This is the January 23rd, 2024 Hardin County Fiscal Court regular voting meeting. And let's begin and call this meeting to order. And let's start with a roll call.
Squire Clem.
Here.
Squire Hicks.
Yes, here.
Squire Muse.
Here.
Squire Pennington.
Here.
Squire Saltzman.
Here.
Squire Thompson.
Here.
Squire Whitehead.
Here.
Squire Yates.
Here.
Judge Tall.
Here. Next we'll have our invocation by Magistrate Hicks and Pledge of Allegiance by Magistrate Pennington.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just come to you today giving you praise and glory for everything that's said and done here today. Father, we just ask you to watch over all the families that are represented here today. We just ask you also to be with our country. It's in a sad shape right now, and we just pray that you would intervene and change some things, but just lead and guide us and direct us in everything we say and do here this afternoon. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining today. Again, I appreciate the mayor of the northern part of our county joining us. Of course, his wonderful wife. It makes him look good. So I appreciate both of them being here today and all of our elected officials. Let's just review the agenda real quick. Today, after these comments or during these comments, I have a very exciting thing to do, a proclamation, and we'll get into that in just a moment. We'll approve our minutes as usual from the previous meeting. After that, we have our reports as usual. Any citizens' concerns or comments. Today, we don't have any specific ordinances or resolutions to vote on, but we do have the typical consent agenda that I'll review those items and we'll vote on those. And then the comments at the end. We do have a closed session today that we'll wrap up with after the comments. And then we'll adjourn after that closed session. So that's our agenda. Fairly simple one today. One thing I wanted to say is I am glad that this winter storm is over, okay? And I know that there was a lot of work that was done on the roads, was a big thing that we had to work through. And so we've started up some after storm review, if you will, with the emergency medical people and with our road department and others that could have impact in or have some input into that meeting. And so we're always looking for ways to improve. And I know there's been some concern about some of the roads, so we'll be looking over that this week and making sure that we can do even better during the next storm whenever that rolls around. Hopefully not this year, but we'll see. All right, so before we move on to the next agenda, there is an important item of business that must be addressed. And so we have a proclamation today that I want to present. And so what I'll do is I'll come down to that microphone and ask our guest to come up here with me, and then I will go ahead and read that. I'll give her some time to respond. And then after that, we're going to take just a few minutes to gather all the magistrates together up here in front, and we'll take a few pictures, if that's okay. So anyway, we'll start and we'll do this. So if you don't know, this is Sophia Todd, and so she's the one that we are recognizing today. So if you allow me, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Okay, so so proclamation. Whereas during the week of January 9th through January 14th of 2024, Miss Sophia Todd proudly and brilliantly represented both Hardin County and the state of Kentucky at the Miss America's Teen Competition. And whereas, unrealized by most, participating in pageants is more than an emphasis on external beauty, but instead a celebration of scholastic achievements, inner character, volunteerism towards charity or community service, and extraordinary talents. And whereas Sophia's participation and success in pageantry has not only contributed to her success in life, but has also helped to encourage and empower girls and women of all ages. And whereas Miss Todd was awarded the title of Miss America Got Talent due to her exemplary talent and overall fourth runner-up in the Miss America's Teen Pageant. And now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of all the citizens of Hardin County, I do hereby proclaim on this January 23rd, 2024, as Sophia Todd Day. All right, yes. Sophia Todd Day, yes, within Hardin County, Kentucky, and encourage all of our citizens to join me in this worthy observance. Set this 23rd day of January on the year of our Lord, 2024, with the official seal of the County of Hardin. Congratulations. All right.
I did prepare a little something.
Yes, please.
So, let me start by saying thank you all for having me here today. And it is a good day to come from Kentucky, and an even better day to come from the heartland of this Commonwealth, my beautiful hometown, Hardin County. So, as it seems, I made a little history a few weeks ago in Orlando, Florida, or as they say in the Miss America opportunity, her story, by being the first ever speed painter in the entire Miss America system to ever win the talent portion of competition, and also by being the first speed painting contestant to place in top 5 for Miss America's Teen Finals, and I was awarded with 4th runner-up. Miss Kentucky, Mallory Hudson, and I made history together by being the first ever Miss Kentucky and Miss Kentucky's Teen to place in the finals of Miss America in the same year. Miss Kentucky Teen hasn't made it to Final 5 in over a decade and a half, and Miss Kentucky hasn't made it to Final 5 in over 2 decades. I'm sure we all know Miss Heather French Henry. She was our last Miss Kentucky. And like I said, it's a good day to be from Kentucky. And I'm also the first delegate from Hardin County to ever win Miss Kentucky's Teen. And I'm humbled to say that I've earned $17,700 in scholarship money from the Miss America opportunity, and I have been given a full ride scholarship to the University of Alabama. And I'm just waiting for an acceptance letter in March. So if I got some prayers for that. But none of this would be possible without all of you, my community, my hometown, my tribe, my village, supporters and sponsors, and last but not least, my family and Jesus. I carried you all with me to Orlando, Florida, and that love and support is what pushes me to do best as your Miss Kentucky's Teen. If you know me, then you know my mom, Rachel, and we're a team, and as this community, you have supported us both in the family face painting business, in my pageant endeavors over the years, and you know that we support you right back. We always strive to do as much for our community as it is done for us, and leave it better than we found it. Even before I was crowned Miss Kentucky's Teen, I was serving as an art teacher at Hope Academy for Kids, as my family has done for years before. I was able to do some face painting at the Hardin County Fair this summer to raise awareness for Hope Academy for Kids, and I raised all of my funds for my Miss America expenses while also earning $1,000 to donate to Hope Academy for Kids. I've been teaching art lessons at Lincoln Trails girls' facilities, giving speeches at elementary schools, doing live art demonstration, and using my art spoken platform with special needs groups. And you know, I've been face painting all over the Commonwealth, making kids smile whenever I can. I want to leave a legacy with my community service initiative, Art Spoken, that a healing change can happen when art gives a voice to the voiceless, the unheard, or the unseen. My mission is to promote art therapy so that it is available in all schools the way that speech therapy is now. Art can combat depression, anxiety, as well as improve heart health in those who cannot physically get fit. So I may only have 5 more months to be your Miss Kentucky's teen before I crown a new queen, but I promise that your kindness and support will reign true in my heart forever, and I am honored to have a Sophia Day in my hometown. And this hometown has done so much for me. So thank you.
I will give credit, as you're all leaving, to Magistrate Pennington over here. He's the one that made this suggestion, and we kind of basically ran with it from there. And of course, Magistrate Whitehead here, she was a big part of contacting you and getting everything set up. So again, thank you. We're very proud of you and your family. I know they had a lot to do with it, so thanks again for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's move on then to the next item, approving the Hardin County Fiscal Court January 9th, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. A roll call, please.
Squire Clem.
Yes.
Squire Hicks.
Yes.
Squire Muse.
Yes.
Squire Pennington.
Yes.
Squire Saltzman.
Yes.
Squire Thompson.
Yes.
Squire Whitehead.
Yes.
Squire Yates.
Yes.
Judge Tall.
Yes, motion passes. All right, let's move on then to our department office reports, and we'll start that out with Mark Peterson with EMS. Yeah, that is a tough one.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
I have for you the November and December activity report for Hardin County EMS. Maybe. Okay.
No pressure.
All right, no questions. All right, okay. So the first slide here is our November call data. We made a total of 1,571 runs in November. Of those 1,571 runs, about 1,300 of them were 911 or 911 type runs, and 273 of those runs were transfers. We collected $618,533 in November compared to $419,339 in November of last year. December, runs are up again. We made 1,734 runs. Of those, about 1,400 were 911 or 911 type runs, and 303 of those were transfers. And those transfers could have been out of Baptist Health or any other nursing homes, not just specific to Baptist Health Hardin. And we collected about $480,556, up from last year where we collected $395,000. Year to date, we have made 9,811 runs. That's up about 700 runs from this time last year. Some of that is due in part to Blue Oval SK, and some of that's just in part to the, we've had some wind events and snow and other things like that. Of those 9,800 runs, 8,000 of those runs were 911 or 911 type runs, and 1,700 were transfers of some sort. Oh, I have one more slide. One thing, as you recall, at the beginning of the budget year, Judge Tall had asked us to look pretty extensively at either reducing our expenditures by $200,000 or raising our revenue by $200,000. And one of those things that we kind of honed in on was our supplies, our expendable supplies, stuff like that. Our supply budget overall is down about $87,000 from this time last year. We've reduced our cost per run from $25 a run to $14 a run. So we've made some great strides, and that's all been done through shopping for the best price, laying eyes on our supply inventory every day, making sure we're not overstocking, and all that other stuff. But I wanted to brag on my crews a little bit for that, because a lot of that is their hard work and making sure that they're staying on top of their inventories and stuff like that. With that, I'll take any questions.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Mark, could we add a slide on there when you put the total number of runs and the 911 runs and then the transfers? I know that we might have 9,800 runs, but we might only take.
These were transported runs.
Those were transported
Yes, sir.
runs?
These were
Okay.
transported runs. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that. I know where you're getting.
You might have. I don't
But
know.
no, I didn't. But
Yeah.
you're talking like how many of these runs are cancels or refusals?
Correct.
Yeah, these are
Correct.
transported runs, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then, so my next question is, I noticed you mentioned 719 more
Mm-hmm.
runs over this time last year, but our revenue only shows $26,000 difference, which is like $30 a run. What drives that?
A lot of it is the timeliness of reimbursement from the insurance companies. Our insurance, our third-party billers running about 30 to 45 days behind on what they pay us. So some of these numbers may come up as, we may see an influx of more money coming in January, February for the increase in volume in November and December. Does that make sense? All right. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is E911, Mike Leo.
Good afternoon,
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
or evening.
Evening, yeah.
I have a pretty lengthy report. First start with the activity for the month of December for the 911 Center. BK, if you can take the wheel. Let me try it. It's broken. I didn't do it.
want to go ahead and start, and they'll try to catch up.
So 911 calls answered for the month of December is 4,286. 10,223 CAD reports created. Answered 5,898 administrative calls. Dispatched 1,715 EMS runs. Dispatched 392 fire runs. Handled 2,297 attempt to serve prisoner transport and traffic stop type calls. And conducted 41,001 NCIC and linked transactions. Next is just calls for service by agency. EMS, 40.9%. Dispatch Radcliffe Police, 27.1%. Sheriff's Office at 16%. Catching up yet? You all see it? No?
No.
No.
Very
County Fire, 4.1%. Animal Control, 2.3%. Vine Grove. PD, 3.7%. The Coroner, 0.7%. E-Town Fire, 3.2%. Radcliffe Fire, 2%. Next slide, you've seen this before, is fire department runs for the month of December. E-Town with 34.1%, and then Radcliffe 21.3%. So we have on here, Aaron. Fire runs by department. 4.
big pie chart.
There we go. And you can see the remainder of the percentages of the fire departments we dispatched for there in the pie graph. Makes it easier. Calls transferred to our secondary sites. Total calls transferred is 760. E-Town PD with 676 and the Kentucky State Police with 84. Now we'll get into the year-end data for the Comm Center for the year 2023. So total 911 calls answered for the entire year is 55,496. I created 125,444 CAD events. Answered 66,319 administrative calls. Dispatched ambulance service 18,797 times. Dispatched fire runs 4,924. Handled 26,565 attempt to serve prisoner transports and traffic stop type calls. And one big uptick for the year is 504,214 NCIC and link transactions. It's just a breakdown of the CAD events created and what types of those are. So 911 calls 42.2%, 44.2%, 34.6% for administrative calls, and then 21.2% for self-initiated events. Types of 911 calls received in their categories, 62.8% were actually emergencies, 10.5% were duplicate, 5.8% were non-emergencies, 10.8% were false calls, and 10% were just no contact calls. With calls forwarded to the secondary sites, showing you 83% was actually serviced by the 911 center. Of the total 911 calls, 14% to Elizabethtown Police and 3% to Kentucky State Police. This here is just to break down the types of transactions that happen in our terminal. Terminal, kind of mentioned this before, what it's used for is running license plates, driver's licenses, wanted persons, guns, entries, stuff like that. The 56.9% for inlets, this is the National Law Enforcement Telecommunications System. This is pretty much transactions that happen outside the boundaries of Kentucky. OL inquiries at your driver's licenses, persons, and you can see the other transactions that it's used for there. So year to date, 5-year comparison for CAD events. You can see we're up for 2023 from the years prior. Total 911 calls received, a 5-year comparison. You can also see that we're up a little bit from the year prior. Wireless calls received, 5-year comparison, also up from the year prior. Administrative calls, this is a big impact since we brought on providing dispatching services for Radcliffe Police. You see a pretty significant increase from the year prior there. So just to go over a quick review, this is a full year's worth of data that encompasses the Radcliffe service. So we have a full year's worth of statistics. Self-initiated events, also an uptick from the year prior. This also, Radcliffe also contributing factor to this increase. NCIC transactions, as you can see, there is a major increase there. Our folks are utilizing that terminal for 4 different agencies, 5 different agencies. I mean, it's a lot going on. So it's a lot of work.
What exactly is the NCIC? Is that when you run?
National Crime Information Center, and LINK is the law enforcement network for Kentucky. It's pretty much a terminal that we have in the center that we can check driver's licenses, license plates. We can check for wanted people. We can run guns. I mean, pretty much everything and anything that could be entered worldwide, statewide, countrywide, we can have access to. We also do enter information into it too for wanted persons for the Sheriff's Office, Radcliffe Police. We also do courts, EPOs, stuff like that. So a lot of work.
A lot of transactions.
A lot, yes. Really busy. That is about all I have. Anybody has any questions?
The administrative calls, I noticed that they far exceed just the regular 911 calls. What accounts for the administrative call load?
So 911 is when someone dials 911. We also have 40, 50 phone lines that ring into the comm center. People can call those. I mean, you remember before the inception of 911, you had to call 10-digit if you wanted the fire department, 10-digit if you wanted ambulance, 10-digit phone number you wanted police. So all those still ring to us. Okay. And a lot of people still utilize those for law enforcement response. And so that some of those are classified as an administrative type event because it's not a critical, must get there now when they dial 911. So okay. A lot of administrative functions that go beyond just responding to domestics and stuff like that, car wrecks.
Thank you.
Mike, I just did some my calculator just did some quick math here. That's 1,380 NCICs a day. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is a lot. And we're kicking, I mean, we have the personnel, we're taking care of it. It's just part of doing business. I mean, and as we grow, I mean, everybody's talking about the growth going on in the county. It's going to continue to grow, and that number is going to increase. Pretty sure next year we'll probably see a different perspective, having another year's worth of data, especially with Radcliffe, and the amount of business that they do. So, yeah, we're busy. We're getting busier every day.
Mm-hmm. The NCIC, you're not necessarily doing a lot for E-Town, though. They have their own, correct?
Yeah, E-Town Police, State Police, they do their own. They conduct their own business. We strictly are Radcliffe, the Sheriff's Office, the court system. We enter all the EPOs and DVOs for the court system. I do believe we do.
We go through E-Town.
E-Town.
Okay.
Until she says she wants us to help her with. It's a thought. We have lots of guns, warrants. I mean, wanted people. Every wanted person pretty much in the county comes out of the sheriff's office, so we enter all those. Stuff like that, so. And then maintaining those records and validating those records has something to do with those numbers too.
You're also doing Vine Grove, correct?
Vine Grove Police. And the area at West Point, the stuff that's generated out of there. Pretty much provide a service to everybody in the county that's law enforcement related to some certain extent. So,
Okay, any other questions?
Mike, I think you stay ahead of the game with planning and being prepared for the future, and I just appreciate that. Thank you.
We're trying to. Got to stay keep our head above water.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next, Detention Center, Josh Lindblom.
It'll be at 5:30. I've never had a 3:30 fiscal court meeting. In case y'all want to fix that this year, I'd be much appreciative, you know.
Just works out that way.
But talking with Don Jones back here in the back, he was asking about if Sophia Todd Day will be a paid holiday next year. Is that correct? I figured I'd check, you know. All right. 2023 was a long year. All right, lodging income for 2023, or I'm sorry, for December 2023 is $342,353.27. 501 intake, release was 531, average daily population was 537. Billing is 40% state and 60% county, which covers the conversation we had prior to the fiscal court meeting. Right now, we're just not getting any state prisoners, so they are not sending them back down, and we'll see if there's any relief on that here pretty soon. Hopefully, the Judges Aid Association and Magistrates Association can have a good talk with the legislators about that. So, all right, misdemeanor charges. Operating influence, 53. Assault 4th degree, 33. Possession of marijuana, 27. Violation of Kentucky EPO DVO, 7. Non-payment of fines, 20. Theft by deception code checks, 1. Shoplifting, 3. Burglary, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 6. Robbery, 1st and 2nd, 1. Assault, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 3. Possession of a controlled substance, 29. Flagrant non-support, 2. And trafficking illegal substances, 30. Weekend total was 81. And it was kind of funny. We got a call not too long ago just double checking on the compliance on the weekenders. And couldn't find the last 4 months there hasn't been non-compliance. That's pretty cool that people are actually showing up and taking care of that stuff. It used to be a long list that Don Jones had to sort out and, do all that. So that's pretty wild. Inmate work hours for the month of December, 10,949. Hardin County's 9,040. So if you calculate that by minimum wage, it's a savings of somebody having to do it, $65,540. December was a busy month for medical. Outside appointments, 11. Emergency room visits, 5. Nurse visits, 998. Medical requests, 589. Hospital admissions, 2. Inmates on medications, 332. Which, if you look at it, with us only having 500 people in the jail, 332 people on medication, a lot of people on medication. And that's all folks that have come in on medication over the years and stuff that, are still on medication we have to keep up with. Average hours, 1.95 hours per run total. Average 3.9 per run total. The inmate road trash for the December month. And mind you, we did a lot of extra work in December on other projects, so I think the guys caught up pretty well on this. There's been 104.1 miles of roads cleared, 1,648 bags of trash, and if you notice, there's a lot of roads that were cleared in the month of December. A couple of things I'd like to talk about. In December, of course, we had the indoor farmers market. When the farmers market shut down, they moved over to co-op. So we go ahead and the guys go up there every Friday on the Fridays and set that up. They come back on Mondays and tear it all back down and stuff so they can keep their operations going the rest of the week. So that was a regular thing. They've helped with disposal of files that need to be destroyed, old files that need to be taken care of, taken to the landfill. Project they worked with the clerk's office. Cleaned up multiple dump sites throughout the month of December. Cleared off some work in West Point with a lot they had to get cleared off because it was a real bad eyesore and a medical hazard. Of course, the last couple weeks and the last couple days and stuff, everybody's been out shoveling sidewalks and getting everything done. So helping hand, done a lot of nonprofits, the library, different agencies, the Hardin County History Museum. All those places come up and run and stuff because the guys go out and shovel early in the morning and stuff, get all salted down so people aren't falling down and hurting themselves. One thing I am pretty proud of is last year, the guys do the mowing crew in the winter months, they're kind of shut down. So a couple years back, we started a firewood program where we went out to the old landfill and cleared off a lot of property that was just solid logs from prior ice storms and different storms, different things we had to cut down trees. Well, over the last couple of years, we've cleared off a couple acres of property up there when it comes to a lot of those down trees. Well, we're getting to where we didn't have enough wood left. So last year we gave out about pretty close to 400 rick. It was about 370 from the calculations of ricks of firewood to people that need it for their homes and everything. Anybody and stuff that, you know, churches would call, Helping Hand would call different agencies and stuff. They'd send them up there and we'd load them up with firewood. Well, already this year, we have partnered up with the city of E-Town. It was in their lagoon. They still had a bunch of trees that were cut down that were just sitting out there. And they were paying a company to come out and mow. Well, I got with Jeff Gregory, the mayor of E-Town, and we went ahead and kind of partnered up on it. And now they have all sorts of logs that they've been cut and given away. So already today, we've got about 750 rick of wood have gone to people's houses this year and cleared off property. So just working together with these different agencies. And also, got to mention Nolin, Rural Electric. They've been, they have called and talked to us, and whenever they cut down a tree that is blocking a power line or something like that, they're actually cutting it up and actually dropping it off to us. So it keeps us from having to go get it. So that helps out a whole lot. So just different things that the guys have done, and of course, I could go on and on the whole year of 23 for the projects they've done. I mean, you know, the different renovation projects, the different stuff, you know, the help with the fairgrounds and everything else. It's, you know, the guys have been very busy. So, and as for the staff at the Hardin County Detention Center, I tell you what, I can't praise them enough because, you know, seeing them every day working as hard as they do, it's just, it's been a good year. So I just want to let y'all know that. But anybody have any questions?
No, Josh, you and your staff and saving the county and the residents a lot of money and doing a great job. I just want to commend you for having a good year and everything that you do.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a question, Josh, but I do want to thank you for the conversation we had before Fiscal Court about the state and the county issues, but the state's killing us, county governments.
And I will tell you, anytime you'd like to come to a Board of Records meeting with the Jail Association, he gets pretty good insight on that, what's actually going on. So it's pretty wild.
And the county governments across the state's going to have to come together and cut through the political clutter that's developed on this issue. I think it's a pretty simple fix. It's just a matter of people having what it takes to get it done.
Sure, definitely.
The fact is, Hardin County pays for prisoners that are in jail because of breaking the state law, and the state does not pay for them.
But to a point, as soon as they hit that point where they are final sentence, you know,
Yes.
The county taxpayer does pay that bill, sure.
But in my mind, day one, that they're arrested for violation of the law, it should be on the state and not on the county because it is state law.
Well, as soon as that hits the law, it'll be, you know.
Yes,
I know
you're pushing for the right things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
I just wanted to say thanks. I know there was a bunch of projects that you guys did for Hardin County government and some of the work that you did in some of the buildings and things. It saved a huge amount of money. And so I'm thankful for that, grateful. So I appreciate that work.
Thank you all very much.
All right,
Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Josh.
All right, next, our county attorney, Jenny Oldham, I believe has a presentation.
Thanks, Judge. BK, do you want me to, can I click from up here? Okay, I think I might do that. Mine's kind of long. Do you have the, let me see.
Maybe.
Gotcha, okay. That order should be. Okay. Yeah.
I hope it works.
Let's see. It works.
Good.
Okay, so you all don't hear from me during the year, so I'm trying to do a kind of a year-end report. But this is the county attorney's office. We are actually tied for the largest law firm in Hardin County. We're tied with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So the two largest law firms are prosecutors' offices, but you'll see here who the legal staff is. We have one attorney vacancy we've not been able to fill. These 7 people together have 104 years of service as prosecutors, so that's a pretty experienced legal staff. They average 15 years each. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers and stats at you, but feel free to ask me questions as we go along or at the end. But also keep in mind, even though these are numbers, that these represent people. And that's something that we are very mindful of. And most of the time, it's more than one person that we're impacting in our prosecution work. So a lot of what you see, those of you here on Fiscal Court and in county government from our office is kind of in that middle column, which is county government representation. But I always like to remind you of the rest of what we do. You'll see the adult criminal prosecution, juvenile prosecution, and then in family court, we prosecute abuse and neglect cases, and then also have a probation monitoring service in our office. And then you'll see our civil duties, and then also our child support enforcement. We serve on the following boards and work groups. I'll try not to read them all to you, but this is just the attorneys in the office. We also have staff who serve on other boards. And these are the ones we do during work time. We have other boards, obviously, that we serve on on our own time. But it keeps us pretty busy. There's actually 3 screens of this. And that was the best that I could capture on what all we do. I won't read all those to you, but we stay pretty busy with that. Child support this year, and that's the calendar year, we have currently 4,263 cases. We collected close to $10 million in child support last year for Hardin County residents. That is down some. We typically hit $10 million. You can see numbers that we look at that have changed. We have a lot more paternity cases, child support cases that start with typically unmarried parents who first need to establish paternity. The whole idea behind our child support collection and the reason it's a government function is that every child has 2 biological parents, and both parents should be supporting that child financially, regardless of whether they're physically or emotionally involved. And many times these are children who are on public benefits. And so that's why it's a government obligation to make sure that both parents are paying for that child rather than that child to be on unreimbursed public benefits. You'll also see new foster care cases in 2023 at 178. That number has exploded. And these are cases that children are removed from their homes due to typically neglect or abuse. We prosecute those cases. Those are the cases that I mentioned out of family court. But when those children go into state care, there's still a financial obligation, and so we're charged with getting the parents, many times who are the abusers, to pay the state child support. 113 criminal actions. Child support, if it reaches a certain level, can be a crime, and we prosecute it as such in Hardin County. So you'll see 113 of those cases. Family court, which are the cases of neglect and abuse. These are some concerning numbers, I'll tell you. So I'm not just going to give you data, I'm going to give you some opinions. This is a calendar year, not a fiscal year. These are cases, not children. On average, each case involves on average involves 2 children, so sometimes more, sometimes less. You will see that since COVID in 2019, you'll see a marked decrease in those bars. So since COVID, we've had a 44% decrease in petitions. So that means going to court because of abuse and neglect. Typically, we're going to court to remove a child from their home. We don't believe that we've seen a 44% decrease in child abuse in Hardin County. What we think we're seeing is 44% fewer cases that we're involved in, because there's not staffing for social workers is down. A big part of that is because our teachers and our school personnel are the people who make the reports, and kids were not in school and teachers were not seeing these. This number has not bounced back. And obviously it's not a number you would be proud of to have it bounce back. But if I thought we were actually seeing a decrease in neglect and abuse, I would be very happy with these numbers. But I fear that it's a decrease in reporting. The latest number as of today is that when someone in Kentucky calls the child abuse hotline to report abuse or neglect, the number was given as a range, 30 to 40% of those are screened out. So I'm not sure why there's such a range there on that number, but that means that only 60 to 70% of those are taken to be investigated, and that's a little bit of a concerning number as well. And feel free to interrupt me and ask questions if you have them, or you can hold them to the end if you have them. But those numbers are very concerning. Just kind of a review for criminal prosecution. We had 9,971 traffic cases. Those include DUIs in that number. 14% of those completed a traffic safety class with our office, either online or in person. We had 478 juvenile delinquency petitions filed. Those are criminal cases against juveniles. That does not include status offenses, which are truancy, runaway. But if they were adults, they would be in criminal court. That's up 10% from last year. Only 27% of those go to court. That is mandated by Senate Bill 200 from 2015 from our legislature. So many of those are diverted, and that continues to be a challenge because we continue to see a lot of serious crime and even violent crime being committed by juveniles. We had 2,003 misdemeanor cases last year, and just to remind you, that does not include DUIs. DUIs are in those traffic cases. And that does not also include cases that start out as felonies, but that might be amended to misdemeanors. 321 of those cases were domestic violence, so 16% of our misdemeanors were domestic violence. Another 253 have identified victims. So not a domestic violence case, but maybe still a violent case, a victim that we've identified. I will mention we are tracking with the influx of population with BOSC. These are not necessarily BOSC employees, but they are people who are here working to get the site ready or in construction. But in the first 2 weeks of January, we had 15, just in 2 weeks, that had a connection to that, that were here in our community that we had identified victim cases on. So that's a concerning number. If that pace keeps up, that'll be significant to keep up with. 1,301 of those cases were put on misdemeanor probation monitored by our office. That is 65% of that number, but again, many of those, that's actually a larger number because many of those cases started as felonies and were amended to misdemeanors. Just a number I didn't know if you'd be interested in, we monitor 215 people currently for insurance coverage. If you're stopped and don't have insurance coverage on your car, you can of course go get that insurance. But we monitor to make sure you keep it. And that's because we were seeing people come in, get a card, and go cancel it on the way out of the Justice Center. And so we want to make sure people stay insured because that costs all of us. We had 1,349 felony cases in district court, and I'll show you some graphs that kind of show you the trend. That number is up significantly. 81 of those were domestic violence related for 6%. 385 of those were resolved by rocket docket, and I'll show you the full numbers on that here shortly. So that's almost 30% of the felony cases that remain felonies go through the rocket docket process, and that's aimed at getting people who are going to be sent to treatment faster, or if they're to be sent on to prison. In theory, they would be sent on to prison faster so that they do not remain county inmates, but the state picks up the cost for those. As I said, we had 216 child dependency, neglect, and abuse petitions, 20% fewer than last year. And one thing I wanted to talk about that you may have heard me talk about before, many of those, 28%, are listed as substance abuse being the reason for the petition. So many times that's neglect, many times that's abuse, but those petitions state due to a parent's substance abuse, the child's not being cared for or the child's harmed. That is underreported. That is 28% stated that is the reason. I would actually estimate it's about 85% where once you peel the onion back of abuse and neglect that you have a substance abuse issue. And so Part of what we are using the opioid money that was designated for my office in 2022, we're using that to help start a family court, treatment court. It's like drug court, but it's in family court. With the idea that with enough services in place, some of those children may be able to remain in their home, or children who are removed, hopefully we can get those parents into treatment and get children safely back at home with their parents. And so family court, recovery court is set to start this month, actually. They've gotten space, they're moving in. We think we'll have our first case actually next month. We're proud of that. We've also hired a treatment coordinator for our office. I hope to have her here at our next fiscal court meeting so I can introduce you, Katie Biddet, so that we're paying for that through those opioid funds as well. And real quickly, we had 69 mental inquest petitions. Those are non-criminal cases where there's someone who is a danger to themselves or others due to mental illness. We petitioned the court for involuntary treatment on their behalf. We had 101 guardianship petitions. That is, sometimes those are children who are maybe special needs children. Once they turn 18, they need a guardian because they're technically an adult, but they need assistance, or it could be older folks who need assistance. We also had 31 Casey's Law petitions, which are involuntary drug treatment petitions, and that's a lot of what that treatment coordinator will help us with. The model in the county attorney's office over the years, we used to have people come in who wanted to file criminal charges. We typically don't accept those through our office. Those should go through law enforcement to be properly investigated. But a lot of what we see at our front counter is now family members coming in needing drug treatment for their loved ones. Many times those loved ones could be court involved already with criminal charges, but many of them are not. And so there is a process for early intervention or intervention, it may not be early, when someone is a danger to themselves or others because of a substance abuse issue. And so there is an ability to go to court and have involuntary drug treatment. And you may think that involuntary drug treatment doesn't work, but there's actually studies that show that it does. So we're frankly willing to use all kinds of alternatives to try to get people clean. 4 of those petitions had a drug and mental health issue that we couldn't figure out, frankly, which was driving. We had 8 special prosecution cases, which meant we went into other counties where there was a conflict of interest and prosecuted those cases. We had 8 appeals. I wanted to show you some of our preparation that my staff does for cases. We had 125 discoveries, which are where and 255 open disclosures, which is similar to a discovery, but when a case is set for trial, we have to prepare, pull the police report, photographs, body cam, medical records, 911 calls, physical evidence, statements. All of that has to be prepared and also provided to the defense, and so there are those numbers. And then this must have been an older version where I didn't get the numbers on those other 3 things. And I'll try to speed along here, but just to show you the graph of misdemeanor caseloads. It starts with 2007. I picked a number, 2017, which was, I think, 7 years ago. We saw a comparable number if you add our misdemeanor and felonies together. If you add those 2 numbers together in 2017, we had 3,549. In 2023, we had 3,352, so kind of a comparable number. What has shifted is that in 2017, 80% of those cases were misdemeanors and 20% were felonies. Now we see that as 60% misdemeanors, 40% felonies. That affects the jail numbers for sure, that it affects costs of incarceration. It could reflect seriousness of crime, but you really have seen that shift. Now keep in mind that our office still touches on all those cases. Those are the cases that anyone arrested tonight will show up in district court with one of our prosecutors in the morning. But you do see somewhat of a reduction. Part of that is COVID, where you see that step down, and part of it is just rather unpredictable. So Traffic cases in district court, and these do include DUIs in these numbers. You can see where we had a very large number back in 2007 when we started counting, and that is half of that in 2023. Someone smarter than me will have to tell you why it's half of that. Some of that could be because of other crimes, there's the inability to be more proactive and to write tickets. I'll let law enforcement experts tell you what's really driving those numbers. Could be less funding for overtime, but I just want to show you those numbers too. You can see a marked decrease there. DUI cases, people are always interested in this number. It's remained somewhat steady. You'll see, I see when I look at it, 2 spikes. 2012, which is when our cities went wet. We did predict that we would see an increase in DUIs, and we did see that. That leveled off shortly after. Then 2019, which was the year before COVID, we had a higher number. The number of DUIs overall, the trend line is down, but we did have 685 of those in Hardin County last year. And then Rocket Docket, which you may have questions about. That started back in Hardin County in 2013. We do have 2 years where we had some missing data. But you can see there total felony prosecutions have nearly doubled since 2013. And we typically are handling a third or more of those cases through Rocket Docket. That takes a lot of front-end preparation because you're actually making an offer to resolve a case within 10 days of that case being charged. And so there's, you want to be very careful in doing that. But the idea is, and these are typically cases that do not have a victim because we would not want to rush through that process. But if we know that this case typically, be it a drug possession charge, is typically going to get a certain type of treatment, we can go ahead and skip through some of those steps and get that quicker, or if they're going to be sent on to prison, get that done as well. So, but you can see what that looks like. And then these are Josh's numbers, but I keep track of them just to kind of see how it looks over the years on jail population. Many people don't know that we're a medium security facility. The capacity, I believe, Josh could correct me if any of this has changed. It was built for 600. I think we had a minute there last year. Nope. Actually, I didn't have Decembers in 2023, so we would not have been under 600. We were rarely under 600, but that was back in 07 through 09. But we're almost always above what we were built for. But you can see what those numbers look like there. Okay, I think that brings me to the end of all my data. Any questions that I can answer?
I don't have a question, but I've been on the court 13 years, and I can say without reservation that our county attorney's office is the gold standard for the Commonwealth, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to put emphasis on that, she is the president of the Kentucky County Attorneys Association.
Thank you, Fred. I appreciate that. It's a hardworking team. I know Don Jones has already gotten a lot of credit today, but he deserves a ton of credit because he's the first assistant. You all see me. He's running the rest of that show, and so he does a phenomenal job. He's been there 16 years or 17 years. Does a great job, and we have people who are just committed to this work because it's not for the money. So, but it is worthwhile work.
You mentioned earlier 178 foster care cases. Now, is each case one kid, or is that could be 2 kids, or?
So I think that number was under child support, so that would be per child on that. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Excellent information and very detailed. Something that jumped out at me was I heard you say within the first 2 weeks of January we'd had 15 cases that could be directly connected to the Voss construction, perhaps, and that's one a day, isn't it?
It is. It's actually, yes,
What?
it is one a day, and you know, I'm not. Certainly, that's not to disparage any of those good people coming in.
Means.
But I was hearing staff say, "This is Boss related. This is Boss," and I was like, "Count those." So we are tracking those to just kind of see what that impact is.
Well,
so.
you know, they're no different than the general population.
Right. We all
and one a
have
day.
issues. Yeah.
Not huge, but
right. Right. Any other questions?
I was just curious on, some of the services, if I remember right, are kind of unique for that you or your staff developed. I couldn't remember which ones those were.
So the probation monitoring, we're the only, as far as I know, I actually do know, we're the only county in Kentucky that monitors misdemeanor probation. So if you're put on felony probation, the state provides probation and parole. There is no state-funded monitoring for misdemeanor probationers. And so that would mean that all the orders to pay restitution, to get mental health treatment, to do community service, to do drug screens, when you walk out of a district court, there's nobody to make sure you do that. And that's statewide. And so we believed that needed to be monitored. For years, it was monitored for a for-profit agency. I believed strongly that if there were profit being made off of people being monitored, that needed to be reinvested back into the criminal justice system. And so we began that in 2019, right before the pandemic. If I'd known that was going to happen, we probably would have scheduled that a little further out. But we started that in 2019. Our judges are really happy with it. It now is self-supporting. It was not initially. And so the fees are paid by the defendants that we monitor. But I think that's an important program. It provides accountability. Those are folks that maybe would have to be incarcerated if we didn't have that kind of monitoring. And it requires them to pay for their own monitoring. It gets people into drug treatment. We're trying to actually beef that up a little with our treatment coordinator so that when people do test positive who are on monitoring, that we can get them to a treatment bed rather than a jail bed if they're interested in treatment. Now, they have to work as hard as we are at that. So, but Judge, I do appreciate you asking that. And then the other piece is the treatment coordinator. As far as I know, we are the first county attorney's office to have a treatment coordinator. And so I appreciate that Fiscal Court did appropriate some opioid money to our office because it's made that possible. So I appreciate that. Any other questions?
No, just to reiterate what Magistrate Johnson said, very detailed, and I personally found that to be very beneficial. Just being on the Fiscal Court, a little more than a year, I appreciate your detailed report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, written reports that you have access to from planning, Adam King, and from our county clerk, Brian Smith, are available. Okay, excuse me. Any citizens' concerns or comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Like I said, we don't have any ordinance or resolution specific to vote on, so we'll move on to our consent agenda. Items A, B, and C, and G are all financial matters, paying bills, transfers, and such. Items D, E, and F, resolutions 9, 10, and 11 are all personnel matters. The next one would be item H, which is resolution 14, and that's related to the Kentucky Board of Emergency Medical Services, K-BEAMS, and this is a grant application, the typical annual grant for 24-25, and we usually get this grant. It's worth about $10,000, I believe. And I believe you said it was maybe radio equipment is what we would be focused on with this money. Okay, next item is resolution 15, and this is related to a surplus van that we have available, and it's going to be transferred from Hardin County Detention Center to Lincoln County. And they are in dire need of one, and this was initiated by our jailer, Josh, and so we are going to be able to provide that to them by approving this resolution. Resolution 16 related to HB1, County Clerk Election Equipment Grant application. I believe we're all pretty familiar with this, but this is we just need to complete the grant process. This will pay up to over $204,000 for this equipment. I believe this equipment is actually in.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, good. So, and then the last three items are various committee meeting minutes. So that's what's in there. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Squire Clem.
Yes.
Squire Hicks.
Yes.
Squire Muse.
Yes.
Squire Pennington.
Yes.
Squire Saltzman. Yes. Squire Thompson.
Yes.
Squire Whitehead.
Yes.
Squire Yates.
Yes.
Judge Tall.
Yes, motion passes. All right, we'll move on. County Attorney, do you have any more comments?
No, I took my turn. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. County Clerk?
I'll just give a brief update. You all have heard me speak about the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's rollout of their new software system, Cavis, which was a decade plus in development. Rolled out to us. 9 January was our first day on that system, and what a shock we got. It was a little buggy and wonky. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Staff on the first floor has performed valiantly, diligently. The system has we have seen some improvements since we went live on January 9th, and we have seen some areas where there is no improvement. We continue to provide feedback to the Transportation Cabinet. The Kentucky Clerks Association is advocating on behalf of all clerks, because this is happening in all 120 counties. We're all struggling with this. And we're trying to do the best to serve every customer that comes in. While I was sitting here, I got a message that the online portal is now live again. That's going to be a huge help if it remains functional. So we encourage folks if you're renewing in January, please renew online if you can. If you are past due on taxes or owe past due taxes, it will not let you. It's going to force you to come in. I'm not sure why it does that. It's always done that. There's no difference between paying online and paying in our office, as far as I can see, but that is a standard the Transportation Cabinet wants. I don't know, maybe they're trying to shame you all and pay them on time. I want to thank the public for being very, very patient throughout this. Most of the public has been very, very patient throughout this. To the folks who've been impatient with us, I get it. I understand. You don't want to wait in line. I don't want you to wait in line either. We're doing our best for you. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to improve. To our dealers in and around our community, we know we're behind. It was just a few months ago that I had that team 100% caught up. We had every dealer work that had been dropped off at 0, and that hasn't happened in years. We are now weeks behind. We're going to do everything we can because we care about those customers, because they're our constituents. They call Hardin County home. And we know there's some things in the system that are making that very, very difficult for us. We're going to try and continue to communicate with you. I think the best communication has probably come from the clerk's office. The Transportation Cabinet probably should have done a little bit better with the Dealers Association, but that's history. The other big item we have on our list, most immediate concern, is Kentucky's 26th District Representative, Russell Weber, has resigned to take a job in the Treasurer's office. That is vacant. The sheriff received last week the writ of election. That is by law delivered to the sheriff. The writ of election should be a giant scroll and a gold ribbon with a wax seal from the Speaker of the House, but it came by email. The sheriff is the one who legally posts that, so he and I teamed up together. We stood side by side, as we will throughout this election. We serve on the County Board of Elections together, and we're going to execute this election. It only affects 3 precincts in Hardin County: West Point, Kentucky, Fort Knox 26, and Ratcliffe Southeast. Those are 3 adjoining precincts. We have submitted a plan to the State Board of Elections. We are awaiting their approval. Once it's approved, we'll have a more formal announcement on it. But a special election has all the same requirements as a standard election. It's not a baby election, it's a real election, and it really matters. So we have to do 6 days of in-person excused absentee for those folks. We have to do 3 days, or we get to do 3 days of no excuse voting. We are going to station both of those locations in Radcliffe because that's the southern tip of those 3 precincts. It's going to be, and then we will have election day voting will be Tuesday, March 19th, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we will have a location both at West Point and at Radcliffe, and that gets the northern tip and the southern tip of that district. To tell you how many votes to expect, I have no idea. Those 3 precincts at the 2016 presidential race cast 1,600 votes, so it won't be a lot. We're going to plan for, we'll have enough stations, enough supplies, we'll have a safe and secure election. I want to thank the County Board of Elections for meeting on an emergency session for us to get this paperwork submitted to the state for approval. We rolled right into that, from that into preparation for the May primary. We have submitted that. Again, we are pending state approval for that, but our plan for the May primary is to have a 3rd location for early voting. So we would have early voting at Glendale, Elizabethtown, and Radcliffe. And that should cover our county pretty good for early voting. And instead of, we're going to move from 12 locations that we had last year to 15 locations. Again, that's pending approval. They have the right to reject our plan. They have the right to tell us to add more locations. But we feel like we've given them a good reasoning and a good backing. That also allows us to bolster the number of check-in stations at the locations. One of the things I kind of thought we needed more locations, but in getting feedback from the people who actually voted, one of the things they asked for is they want to get through that line quickly. So we've added, our large stations are going to become larger, and then we've added more locations to cover some spots where we really had people 20, 25 minutes from polling locations, which we shouldn't have, and we won't have pending the approval of that. That's all I have for that, but I'm happy to take any questions from members of the court.
Can we get just a brief update on the Radcliffe office?
Yeah, so we're going to be using that space. That's where we're going to have our early voting. We have possession of it, but I am awaiting the transportation cabinet, the same folks who are working on this CAVIS system for us to submit they have to. We've ordered the equipment, and then they have to give us a web portal for it. We're waiting approval of that. We're waiting the delivery of that, excuse me. And I don't have a time frame on that, but we're continuing to nag them because I can tell you it would have eased congestion in our office the last couple of weeks. And I had a lot of folks in there from Radcliffe, and I told them, I said, when you renew next year, you'll be able to do it closer to home. So I'm frustrated it's taking longer, but I'm frustrated with a lot of things at the transportation cabinet right now. But I want to applaud my staff one final time.
Brian, on the special election, what's the total cost of the election? Do you know?
My best guess, sir, it's going to be just under $10,000.
No, I'm talking about the whole election. Is it $10,000 to hold a special election period?
So that's what I
estimate
our cost to be. So
to run 3 precincts.
To run 3 precincts. The biggest
1,600 votes is going to be $10,000.
It is, and the biggest cost is the equipment programming, and we don't have an option with that. That's half the cost. Is the programming machines and the ballots.
So Bullitt County's part will be the same, their cost will be the
Bullitt
same?
County's going to they have a larger territory. I have talked to the Bullitt County clerk almost every day for the last couple of weeks. We're working together, but it is a separate election because counties are county level. His plan looks a little bit different than ours does. But he has the same vendor we have. I haven't asked him for what his vendor has said.
I mean, I was just getting whether or not it's prorated or anything like that, so it's not. Okay.
We do not share those costs.
Okay. All right.
We have of the district, we have 15% of the population. But for me to run the election in 3 precincts versus 6 or 8 is not a huge cost difference, because it's the programming of the machines.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, my time was up. Thank you.
All right. That's it. Just in time. All right, we'll move on then, and we have some magistrates' comments. Magistrate Yates.
I just want to say, I appreciate, your staff's hard work. I know they're just as frustrated as the public, so I just appreciate them, what they're doing. I want to remind everybody, February 3rd, I mentioned it last meeting, February 3rd, 9 a.m. is the Ratcliffe Mayor's Breakfast. So come out, enjoy some breakfast, get you some free door prizes. There's always plenty, so it'll be a good time. February 15th, 3:30 is our next Emergency Services Committee meeting. That's all I have, Judge.
Magistrate Saltzman.
Yeah, I want to compliment the clerk's office. I was in there yesterday and today and got license registration for different vehicles. So they did a great job. I think yesterday I was in there in and out in 20 minutes, which I thought was pretty good. And I'm kind of a people watcher anyway, so it was kind of neat to watch the people come in and out. There was a couple of guys there, hey, how you been? I hadn't seen you. And then one, this is the only time I ever see you is every year we're in here getting our license at the same time. So it was just kind of interesting to see the people interact and waiting in line. It's much better than Walmart. So the only other thing I had was just reminding people that the legislature is in session. And I just want to throw this information out there. You can go to legislature.ky.gov and you can follow bills. You can see how everybody's voting, see where bills are at. And if you see something on there, reach out to your legislator and tell them how you feel about that. Like I said, it's legislature.ky.gov. That's it.
Thank you. Magistrate Whitehead.
Well, first of all, I want to start by recognizing and commending our clerk's office. I was over there quite a bit in the last few weeks and witnessed firsthand what was going on. And it was amazing the way that our county clerk and his staff treated the customers in a way that they had to turn them away. And most of the folks were not upset for what I witnessed because they were treated so respectfully and with such kindness. And I just want to commend Brian and his staff for the way that they handled the Cavis conversion. It was remarkable. And yet I know there are still a few things that yet to be worked out. I was impressed by that, so I want to congratulate you for that conversion. And also, I want to, again, recognize Sophia Todd for what she has accomplished. And I just want to say publicly, her beauty is just a plus. That young lady is brilliant and has done so many things for our community, charitable things, volunteerism. You'll see her out there painting faces at the county fair. And all of this she does from her heart, and she's learned from the best, her mother, Rachel. So I just want to recognize her again publicly and let Sophia know how very proud we all are of her and her accomplishments. And then finally, the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting will be Thursday, February 22nd at 3:30. So mark that on your calendars. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Clem.
Yes, Judge. The Finance Committee meeting will be held tomorrow at 3:30 across the hall. It was previously scheduled for the 16th, but we closed that day for weather, so we had to reschedule. Also, the Town Hall Forum will be here on January the 30th at 5:30. We encourage the public to attend. We will have a little bit of traffic problem maybe that day, but that's the day we're going to have the open house for the comp plan too. That's going to be moved from over there down to the second floor. So they'll be going from 4:30 to 6:30, and we'll be starting at 5:30. But we encourage the folks that come to the comp plan early to come up here and join us at 5:30. And so I look forward to having everyone attend that can possibly attend. And also, please don't drink and drive and don't text and drive.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Pennington?
They've covered a lot of good things, so I'm going to have no comment.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Thompson?
Just want to encourage everyone to be a good neighbor. Encourage right and good behaviors in your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. One challenge for us as a county is to be a clean county and not litter. And I encourage you to encourage friends of yours and family to dispose of litter properly. It's great to keep our inmates busy, but it would be much greater if they were busy at things other than cleaning up cast out litter. So I want to challenge our county, our community, to be a cleaner county. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Hicks?
I don't have much, but I just want to be thankful and thank the Hardin County Road Department. I know there was some issues and complaints that they didn't think they done as good a job as they could have, but it's been a long time since we've had temperatures like we had now. And I did get 2 calls that was bragging on their road, so there was some people that thought they'd done a great job, and we had a few people that thought they didn't do a very good job. But I think all in all, I'm going to commend the road department for the job they did.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Muse?
Yes, I just want to say the next Public Works Committee meeting will be on the 7th of February at 3:30. That's a change from the normal due to conflicting meetings, so thank you.
All right, thank you. For me, I just have the typical reminder that our next meeting, a fiscal court meeting, will be Tuesday, February 13th at 3:30 p.m. All right. Just a note here, we're about to go into closed session, so excuse me, there'll be no more business today except to adjourn whenever we get back in here. But of course, you're welcome to hang around and until we get back if you'd like, and we'll wrap things up. So at that, I move to go to closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810 1C and regarding discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of a public agency. Is there a second?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion? A roll call, please.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes. Motion passes. Second?
everybody wants.
All right, second. Any objections? Meeting adjourned.